In this lesson, we're going to be animating our W. Okay, let's go ahead and open up our W comp. Just come over here, double click that. And it looks like we have several layers to play with here. So let's just go ahead and knock out that circle by replacing it with our pieces comps. Just alt dragging to it. Very cool. That'll probably need to come a little bit later, so we're just anticipating that and pulling that forward. Then we've got a couple of downstrokes here, so those are going to be great with just a plain old trim paths. So let's go ahead and convert those to vector layers. We'll shift select both of those and pull those down into place. Add trim paths to both of them. And we'll just start out with those at, let's see what side they're going to be drawing from. Very good. They're going down to it rather than away from it. That's what we want. So we'll start those out on that first frame at 0%. Give them about 15 frames to come in, just using shift and page down to move forward into those frames. And then those two keys, let's go into our graph editor. Add our ease in handle, and there we go. So really quickly kind of just knocked those out. Then our circle will be coming in. Now we'll have to deal with this half hoop. Let's do our pucker and bloat for that one that we just learned about. So we'll select that layer, right click, create shapes from vector layer, pull that into place, delete the original, add pucker and bloat. And then we'll come in here and let's see what it looks like. It's starting out pretty decently. It doesn't look too bad, but we'll go ahead and just take it all the way back down to 0. Key that amount, and then let's see what we can start that at. So maybe kind of make this triangle shape with it. And then we'll also want to use a scale animation for that. So we'll bring up the scale property for it. And we'll end that at 100 and start it at 0. So you can see how it's going to kind of scale up and change from the triangle to that half hoop. And this one also we'll want to give our same ease in treatment to here in the graph editor. Okay, so now let's deal with our angles. Those are kind of the outlines of the W. So again, I want to make these have the very same trim paths or the same treatment as far as making it a shape layer. And then we're going to use trim paths for one of them, and then the other one we're going to treat slightly differently. So we'll shift select both of them, right click, create shapes from vector layer, put them into place, delete the originals. And you can see they're named left and right, which is helpful. So let's start with the right one because that is one that we know what we're doing. We'll just add our trim paths effect, starting that out at 0, keying it, giving it 15 frames, and turning that up to 100. And that's going to come in from the top down to the bottom, which is perfect. And I'll just go into the graph editor and give it the same treatment as everything else. Very, very nice. We can start with this one and then say this line will have come in next. So that can come in right about there. Then as that's coming in, let's grab this guy and we'll have him start to come on. So we've got this side pretty well figured out, but we still need to deal with this arm. So that angle we're going to do something different with. So I'm going to come down into its contents, into its group, into its path. And you can see that now I can actually select the path. So I'm going to come over a few frames here and key that path. Then we'll go back to the beginning, and I want to zoom in here a little bit and show you that I can grab that point and start to play around with the way that path looks. So I'm going to pull this up here. And this one as well. So they're going to kind of start out here in the middle. And then maybe have this kind of down like that. And then I want to scale this up. So if I select the layer and hit the S key, can see it's going to scale to this anchor point, and I don't really want that. So I'm going to move the anchor point over to the middle here. So now it's going to scale from that point, and I want to scale it to 100 from 0, but only over a matter of a few frames. So that's going to come open to 100% and then kind of move over to the side. Now it's starting out a little bit too far over to the right in my opinion. So let's add some position keyframes as well. So we'll select the layer, hit the P key, and we want it to end at that position, but I want it to start out probably closer to the left here. So it's actually going to be kind of moving over to the right a little bit, but you can kind of see how that works with the scale. So select your layer and hit the U key, and we'll take a look at all the keyframes that we've added. So position, let's pull scale forward a little bit more. So you can see how that's just kind of come into frame as it's still moving, which is a really interesting way to do that. Now at this point here, I'd like to play with this handle a little bit more. So let's come in here and just grab this one point, and I'm going to pull that down a little. And I just want the one point of it. There we go. And I'm going to pull that down just like that. Now I don't want to overwrite my nice keyframe that I'm using here, so I'll just pull this one in. And the reason why I'm doing this is that I just want that one to be a little bit slower so that it really does feel like the whole thing is moving. Now once this comes to about right there, that's when I want this line to start drawing out of it. So we can grab that line just there, pull that forward. So that's going to start coming up right about there. And then probably right around here is actually closer to when we want this circle to start coming on. Maybe a little bit past the triangle piece. Very, very cool. Now let's go into our keyframes here, and we'll do a little bit of easing. So we'll go into our graph editor. Let's just start out with our path animation. Basically this one we'll ease into. So I'll just hit that easy ease in. Now you can see that this now has a little bit of a problem. So what I'll do to fix that is hold Control and click that. So that's going to auto Bezier and really help that speed. So you can kind of see how that looks. It's just not going to feel like it's such a hard hit. And then this will kind of come out a little bit more slowly there at the end. And we can pull this forward so it has more time if we think we need it. Very, very nice. So it's kind of getting everything into place, and then that one piece is still just taking its time to come in there. Okay, then our position, we'll want to definitely go in here and add just some easy ease to that. And I'm not even going to really worry about going into the graph editor to edit this one. We'll just add a little bit of ease. And then for our scale, we'll just do a little bit as well there. We won't really worry about pulling on the handles. Okay, so very nice, feels very, very smooth and fluid. Okay, so that is the animation for our W. Now, I want to tell you that you absolutely can practice all the techniques that we have been using on all your other letters. But between lessons, I'm going to go in and animate the rest of the letters using only the techniques that we've gone over. So changing the vector layers to shape layers, using trim paths, pucker and bloat, and wiggle paths. And then any of the position, scale, rotation properties are fair game as well. But I don't want you to use any others besides that. And the reason for that is that it's going to keep the continuity by not adding any totally new motions besides the ones that we've looked at together. And this is going to save you time also from having to watch me repeat all the steps and going through every single letter with you. So I just challenge you to animate the rest of the letters to get some practice on your own. And in the next lesson, they're all going to be done, and we are going to begin creating a composition out of the letters and seeing kind of what that process looks like. So join me in the next lesson where we'll be placing multiple letters that have already been animated into a composition.